welcome to another video. So in this one we're going to be looking at a few more of the detachments for the new Eldar codex that is out this weekend on pre-order, and this one is going to look at the Ynnari and the Harlquins, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this whole article is going to cover the Ynnari and the Harlquins and how they're going to work with the new Eldar codex. There's actually quite a bit of information in this, not so much in the regards of rules, but more in just in how they've wrote it. So one of the first things that we know of is that this codex will also have Dark Eldar or Drukhari units in it in the form of Carbonite warriors, incubi, witches and other mercenary death dealers. That's probably the Corsairs in the Eldari from the Drukhari codex. So you can field them in your Ynnari armies, which is pretty cool. So obviously they understand that people don't want to buy two codexes, and well, the Drukhari one isn't coming out anytime soon, at least from what we've seen. So it makes sense having those data slates in the codex, so you can actually have the proper rules. Be interested to see if there's any changes from them when it comes to the index into what we have now with the codex. So that should be kind of cool. So the Ynnari, obviously, they can no longer choose the Ynnari as a faction keyword, but they do get their own detachment, strength from death, and it does have quite a few rules. Now, the caveat to this is you do have to have one of the named characters as part of the army, and that's Yavarin, the woman with the cat, and the weird sort of avatar-like type one. The other guy isn't mentioned, although if you choose either of these, you can't have any other epic heroes from the Eldari range. So you can't have any of the Ulthuan or Prince Ural in there as well. So it kind of makes sense that these are sort of like a separate thing. So the devotees of the Ynnrad, strength from the death. So you use the following rules. So you've got lethal intent at the end of your opponent's shooting phase. If one or more Ynnari units from your army was destroyed this phase, select one Ynnari unit from your army, not including the Titan. That unit can make a normal move. That's kind of cool. You also do get to use the battle tokens that the army has already as an army-wide rule. So you've got lethal surge. So once per turn, when a Ynnari unit from your army performs a fade back agile maneuver, it can make a lethal surge move instead of a normal move. If it does, roll a d6 and add 1 to the result, and you move that many inches, and you can move into engagement range, which is really strong, really strong. Then you have lethal reprisal. So at the start of your fight phase, select one Ynnari unit from your army, excluding the Titan, that is below starting strength, and you get fights first. That's really good, especially on later rounds of combat. If you've not been completely wiped out, you're then going to be able to fight first and get the jump on your enemy, which is kind of cool. So there is obviously other detachment rules. So there is the rule for servants of the Whispering God. So you can include Ynnari units in your army, even though they do not have the Yssiri faction keyword. Yssiri units, excluding epic heroes from your army, gain the Ynnari keyword, and you must include either one of these characters, and one of them must be your warlord, which kind of makes sense. So yeah, it's kind of good. And then we have the Harlequins. So the Harlequins now do have a faction keyword, which is kind of cool. And one of the big caveats of the article is that Harlequins can be in any detachment. They don't have to just be in their own. So they do have their own little rule, which is the desperate paths. So when mustering your army, you can include Harlequin units in your army, even though they do not have the Azir faction keyword. Unless otherwise stated, you cannot select Harlequins or Ynnari as your faction keyword, which makes sense. So Harlequins has definitely been there. It's a shame to see them lose their codex and go back to being essentially just in the codex craft world and Drukhari. And I imagine the same rules are going to be in the Drukhari codex when that comes out, whenever it does. But you do have their own detachment, which is kind of interesting. So you've got Ghosts of the Webway detachment, which is basically upgrades given to your troops in your Harlequin army, and basically troops. The troops themselves gain the battle line keyword, so you can have 6 of them rather than just 3. and then you get the acrobatic onslaught rule. So the acrobatic onslaught rule, each time a Harlequin model from your army makes a charge move, it can move through enemy models. It's kind of cool. You can kind of hit the front and then flip over and get in behind them. Just means that you're going to gain a couple of little bit distance, getting onto an objective or waiting for your consolidation move so you can get a little bit closer. So your traveling players rule is your troop units from your army game battle line, so you can have 6 of them. And troop models in the detachment have OC characteristic of 2, which is quite good. And you can also have 3 Death Jesters, 3 Shadow Seers, and 3 Troop Masters as well, which is pretty solid. Now, it does actually go on to say that you get the full range of the Eldari units for these detachments. So you don't really just need to have, broken down. The Disciples of Ynnari obviously have a few additional units from the Ynnari to use. And yeah, so it's pretty good. So like I said, it is up on pre-order this weekend. So it's quite a bit of information there in regarding the new army. So the Eldar are looking pretty good. It's obviously going to go down now to what their actual data slate's like. We know that there's been a lot of changes. Aspect Warriors have got some token thing that they get to do. They've got the token. There's a lot of tokens in this book. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some form of FAQ quite quickly, because you can guarantee people are going to try to put witches and incubi in their normal armies without using the Ynnari. It's going to happen. But hopefully that's spelled out quite easily and clearly of where they actually fit into the detachment wise. But that's the video. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, share, and all that good stuff. And you can check out my members on my Patreon area. I'll catch you in the next one.